Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Wednesday, the 26th day of April in the year 2023. This is a regular meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 6 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 6:06 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Ridley.
Here.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Yeah.
Councilperson Saleh.
Here.
Councilperson Solomon.
Here.
Councilperson Gill is not here. Councilperson DeGise.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera.
Here.
And Council President Waterman.
Here.
We have 8 council members in attendance at 6:06 p.m. May we kindly rise for a moment of silence, please?
Tony Quinn.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Council President Waterman and in accordance with New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall, the annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2023, and filed in the office of the city clerk on Thursday, December 15th, 2022. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, April 21st, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. to the Municipal Council, Mayor, Business Administrator, Corporation Council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Okay, council members, before we move on to the agenda, like I did at the caucus, I would just like to give an update to everyone. Former city clerk Robert Byrne is not well and could really use your prayers. And please pray for his wife, Deborah, and also Tina. If you have his contact information, please use it, text, even if you leave a voicemail, the family will be able to let Robert hear it. And if there's a problem with that, they'll read him the text and everything. But that kind of gives him the strength to keep going. So your prayers are greatly appreciated, and it means everything to the family, but it means more than you know to me. So with that being said, council members, we have one item to add to the agenda.
Sean.
Yes.
Oh, Councilman Gilmore's here, 6:08.
Oh, thank you. I was looking at the text and I couldn't see it. All right, so Councilperson Gilmore is here at 6:08 p.m. So we have all 9 council members present at 6:08. Thanks so much, Councilperson Saleh. Council members, so we have one item to add to the agenda, and that is the item that we discussed at the caucus, which is item 10.36, Resolution 23-323 is a resolution providing local support for local Mod 4 LLC to operate a Class 5 retail cannabis business. Council members, I need a motion to add item 10.36, Resolution 23-323 to the agenda.
Motion.
Motion made by Councilperson Rivera. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to add item 10.36, Resolution 23-323 to the agenda, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion motion to add item 10.36, resolution 23-323 to the agenda is approved unanimously, 9-0. Okay, council members, if you would allow me to read into the record our first reading ordinances, starting with item 3.1, City Ordinance 23-034 is an ordinance amending Chapter 3, Administration of Government, Article 11, Department of Public Safety, Sub-Article 2, Division of Fire and Emergency Services to ban the use of open fires and recreational fire pits. Item 3.2, City Ordinance 23-035 is an ordinance authorizing the sale of an easement to Kingsland Development Urban Renewal LLC affecting real property owned by the City of Jersey City, known as Block 233, Lot 13, as shown on the official tax map of the Township of Lyndhurst. Item 3.3, City Ordinance 23-036 is an ordinance amending Chapter 160, Fees and Charges, establishing a revised fee schedule for city-owned and operated swimming pools at Persian Field Park, Pavonia Municipal Pool, and Lafayette Aquatic Center. Item 3.4, City Ordinance 23-037 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles in Traffic, Article 8, Permit Parking, amending Section 332-58, Parking Restrictions in Residential Zones to extend Parking Zone 2 to include Front Street. Item 3.5, City Ordinance 23-038, ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 9, Parking for the Disabled of the Jersey City Code, designating reserved parking space at various locations throughout the city. And last but not least, item 3.6, City Ordinance 23-039 is an ordinance designating newly constructed municipal buildings 1, 2, 3, and 4 Jackson Square. Council members, before we take a vote, I believe Councilperson Prinzary would like to make a statement.
So for ordinance 3.3, I had a conversation with Director McLaughlin, and because we are using Green Acres funding for projects past and present, our public pools have to be open to all residents in the area. So we know that that's going to affect how people come and swim in our city. So we do need to look at some sort of fee structure there. However, we're going to be adding an effective date. So the fees will not go into effect until 2024. That will allow us time to look at alternative ways to find no and low cost solutions for our residents and sort of work through what that's going to look like over the next year. So just to Corporation Council, just want to confirm that this is non-substantial between the first and second read.
The substantial analysis isn't required here because this is just the introduction. So if someone wants to make a motion to make that amendment.
I make a
Do
motion.
do we need a motion there, Sean?
Yeah, I'm making the motion.
I second it.
No. We don't need a motion because we're not actually amending the ordinance. This is a first reading. We're just,
So the change will be made between first and second read.
right, we're making the change now and we're introducing it with the change into the ordinance.
Understood.
So the date, effective date in 2024, do we have that actual date?
It
there a
will start with the opening of the pool season in 2024. So I know that Pershing Field has a slightly different timeline than their other two pools, which open over Memorial Day holiday. So I do not have the firm date yet, but we will have it.
Okay. I'm just going to need that for advertising purposes.
Sean,
Yes.
first of all, I just want to say I agree with Mira 100%, but I also would like that 3.1 be pulled. I disagree. You gonna vote on it to pull it? All right. All right.
Okay.
I think it should be.
So we're going to add that effective date to item 3.3, City Ordinance 23-036, and we'll have that effective date up on iCompass tomorrow morning. With that being said, council members are going to be taking a vote on items 3.1 through 3.6. Again, that's items 3.1 through 3.6 for introduction. Councilperson Ridley.
I'm going to vote no on 3.1. I think that the ordinance as it is leaves a lot of loopholes. I know we just received something in like the last 2 minutes from public safety with a whole list of, I guess, what the current rules are. And I just think that we need to kind of look at it more. And the ordinance as it is doesn't really encompass a whole lot, and we haven't really seen enough evidence to, I guess, make this decision. So I'm going to go no on 3.1 and aye for introduction on all the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Prinzary.
No on 3.1. I also have some questions around enforcement and the practicality of it all. I'll take a look at what public safety said, but I on all the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Bajano.
John Metro, I am asking on the record for the fire department to meet with the council and provide data that fires in Jersey City have been caused by fire pits. The fire department needs to present data. At the very least, they can provide data on a number of fires which began from the roof. And to be honest with you, there are none. So I vote no on one and yet yes on the rest.
Councilperson Saleh.
Vote no on 3.1 and aye for all the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Solomon.
I'm going to vote no on 3.1. I would have been okay with introducing, but it's the same kind of fundamental impact, and council seems to be fully on board with waiting. But ultimately, we need more data from we obviously take public safety concerns at the highest degree, but we need more data and information to really demonstrate that there's safety risk and that the ordinance is well drafted to address that safety risk. So open to continuing the conversation, but keep it out. And then I'll vote aye to introduce all the ordinances. I do have some major concerns on 3.3. I do appreciate the additional year. It'll give us more time to adjust, but we'll want to work very closely because I do think having a free admission for children is really important. And I understand Green Acres makes that a little more difficult, but I do think that really want free activities for kids in the summer. It's good for them. So happy to continue the conversation moving forward. But wanted to state my concerns on the record as well.
Thank you. Councilperson Gilmore.
Yes, I'm going to vote no on 3.1 for all the reasons that was spelled out by my colleagues. I do want to ask John a question as it relates to just fees in general. John, with respect to the fees, because there's an implementation of summer camp fees slated to take place this year that we didn't vote on, but this right here, the fees are drastically smaller and we do have to vote on. So if you could just give me some insight on at what point do the council have jurisdiction on voting on fees?
Yeah, Councilman. So anything that is already in the code, the council has recognized it and has previously voted on. So then we have to change the city code to reflect those changes. So any existing fees, we have outdated ones for copies of CDs so any of that stuff would either have to be omitted or updated for a different fee program. So this is something that is already codified in the code and that we'd move forward with. So usually it's regards to city services. So anything that there's an offsetting cost. And the city, just for the record for the council, the city's not allowed to quote unquote profit from any programming. We have to do an analysis to show that it directly offsets the cost of administration and supplies and materials for that.
So the fees that's coming in from the rec programs and the potential fees that's going to be coming in from 3.3, do that go directly to the Department of Recreation or back to the city?
It's recognized as a general revenue, but in order to receive it, we have to show that there's an appropriation in the budget that meets or exceeds that amount, right? So just for example, if you take a look at this nominal fee for the pools, you'll see actually tonight we're voting on resolutions for maintenance of the pools, chlorine, opening and closing. So those costs already exceed, not to mention lifeguards and maintenance and all those things. So we take an analysis and we look at that. And another portion that we usually take a look at is indexing those fees as we increase minimum wage and as, maybe open new facilities, the costs that incur, we try to keep pace with those.
All right, thank you. So I vote aye for, introduction. I definitely think we're gonna need more dialogue with regards to 3.3, because I understand, especially for the jurisdiction in which I serve, that a lot of people are already financially burdened as it is. So whenever we start talking about additional fees and stuff, it just gets a little muddy and problematic. But I'll vote aye for introduction, just to engage in more dialogue to see where we can go.
Councilperson DeGise.
Vote no on 3.1 and I am for introduction on the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Rivera.
No on 3.1, and I just want to reiterate that for 3.3, it is free for children. We have to make sure that it is free for children. And I am the rest.
And Council President Waterman.
I vote no on 3.1 and I for all the rest, introduction.
Okay, before I recap, I'm just going to let the BA make a statement.
So I'm just brief. I understand and I hear the council on 3.3. Understanding that we're now amending it that the fees won't take place this year. We're willing to work with the council and we'll push it another meeting or two if we have to maybe create subcommittees or something to straighten this out. But I do just want to remind the council that at some point we have to enact in regard to the open space funding, Green Acres funding. So just something to be mindful of. And now we're not under time constraints, so I'm happy to work with the council on that.
Okay, just to recap, item 3.1 is defeated with no votes in the affirmative and 9 votes against. It's defeated on introduction. Items 3.2 through 3.6 are introduced unanimously 9-0. Okay, on to our second reading ordinance, which is item 4.1, City Ordinance 23-031, is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 242, Peace and Good Order, Article 6, roller skates, inline skates, skateboards, bicycles, electric scooters, dirt bikes, and all-terrain vehicles. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Joseph Olszewski, I'm the captain of the West District. I'd just like to thank the council for this ordinance.
You can bring the mic up to you, Joe.
If nobody understands what this is, this ordinance, this is going to deal with the dirt bikes, the quads that run through the city on every hot day, the scooters that are driving on the sidewalk, driving up the streets the wrong way. And if you could pass this tonight, I will notify all the gas stations first thing tomorrow morning. That's it.
Yeah, Captain, you've done an excellent job so far in the West District with it.
Thank you.
Joe, would you mind just spelling your last name for our court reporter?
OLSZEWSKI.
Thank you so much, Joe. This is still a public hearing on this ordinance, and I see Laverne
Did
Webb.
the best thing that could happen in this city, especially in the South Ward, because if our children are getting dangerously hurt with the dirt bikes, the motorcycles, like he said, all up on the sidewalk, this is the best thing. Let them go in Barry Lane. They got a skateboard thing in there that's beautiful. So thank you again, sir. God bless you.
This is still a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Wait, we have one more speaker.
Name is Darryl White, right? And this is no disrespect intended to anyone, but it seems like y'all talking about the wrong thing in our county, Hudson County. You know, y'all speaking about something that y'all ain't even put in order yet. You understand what I'm saying? You got homelessness people in Hudson County. It's terrible. This is terrible, man. Y'all talking about the wrong stuff. No disrespect intended. But I've been living here all my life. I'm 58 years old. You understand what I'm saying? And the, y'all don't talk about y'all want to talk about the kids. Y'all don't talk about the kids enough. The kids, y'all don't even got no jobs for the kids, age kids.
Daryl,
You gotta,
Daryl, let me explain how this goes. If you follow our agenda, we talk about whatever is on the agenda. And right now, we was talking about scooters. It's not that we don't talk about the kids. We do talk about the kids if they on this agenda. Okay, so at this time, we only talking about the scooter situation. That's why. Okay, there's a lot of things on this agenda, and we definitely will cover them all. But we only right now is talking about the scooters.
Miss, your
Okay.
agenda is the wrong agenda. I'm from the streets.
But Daryl, I respect you. Now we have to follow the agenda, okay? I know you probably frustrated, I get it, but we really do have to follow agenda, okay? So when it come to public speaking, your name is on here, you can come and talk to us about anything. Okay, but we just gonna follow agenda. Thank you, Daryl. I appreciate it. Sean?
Yep, this is still a public hearing on city ordinance 23-031. Any member of the public still wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion to
Second.
close, motion to close the public hearing was made by Councilperson Rivera on city ordinance 23-031. And I heard a second from Councilperson Saleh to close the public hearing on city ordinance 23-031. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously 9-0 to close the public hearing on city ordinance 23-031. For final consideration and adoption of city ordinance 23-031, Councilperson Ridley.
I just want to again thank the council for the first ordinance regarding this issue in September. And thank you to Councilwoman Prinzary for working together with the police department and me to expand on that ordinance. Thank you to Jersey City Police Department. Thank you, Captain, because I know you always call and you send me pictures and you send me examples. And I know you're passionate about making sure that we get this right and get it done the right way to help you guys while you're out there. I think the goal is to make sure that we're keeping everyone safe. And as I said before, it's for the safety of not only just our residents and our police department, but also for the safety of the people operating these vehicles illegally. So with that, I vote aye.
Thank you, Councilperson Prinzary.
So, thank you to Councilwoman Ridley for your work this year and for the work we've done together on this next set of tools in the toolkit to help with some of our public safety issues on our streets. Thanks to the police department for forwarding this over to us and for working on some regional solutions with other municipalities moving forward, which I think will also be very helpful. And you know, just to echo that, you know, this is not to make gas station attendants feel unsafe. They have, if they don't want to, they want to fill the tanks of gas, they can just report directly to the police department so we can make sure that these illegal vehicles that are not supposed to be on our roads stay off of our roads. I vote aye.
Councilperson Bajano.
As I said, I know the West District has been very active in this in the last month or so. And now we got to get the other precincts to do the same thing. I vote aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
No, it's high tide that we stop these dirt bikes and the all-terrain vehicles, those ATV vehicles from pumping gas at our gas stations. I want to thank Councilwoman Mira Prinzary, Councilwoman Denise Ridley, and the Jersey City Police Department for putting this forward, and I vote aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Thank you to my council colleagues. I proudly vote aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
I just want to ask legal a few questions with regards to, and I had this question last time we passed it, so I just want to make sure that I'm clear on the interpretation of this. So there's a state law that speaks of the CCs as it relates to these vehicles. How does this ordinance affect that law?
This ordinance addresses, just the direct gassing up of those vehicles. I think, as far as, they are classified as motor vehicles. So if we obviously have the ability to regulate their operation on city streets. I guess,
So,
clarify the question.
yes, so essentially, I believe the state law is, it's deemed illegal if a device is 150 cc's powers or more. And the anything under that is considered like recreational use, like they're not required to register them. In fact, motor vehicle won't register them.
Yes, I believe that's correct. Yes.
So that's why so with the implementation of this ordinance, it is essentially speaks to the ones that's deemed to be registered, correct?
Repeat that, the last thing you said.
So with respect to this ordinance here, that we're voting on, this will only include the 150 cc's or more, correct? Because there's some recreation legal vehicles that motor vehicle won't register them because of the power is not considered a vehicle.
Okay, so anything that motor vehicle isn't going to be registered shouldn't be driven on the street anyway.
Right.
No, that's not.
So if you have an all-terrain vehicle and it is on a flatbed or a truck that is registered, you can bring it to a gas station and fill it there. These are for ATV vehicles that are not supposed to be on our streets. They're illegal to drive on our streets, and then they pull up and then they want to gas up right there.
No, I don't think you guys understand what I'm asking. Like there are vehicles that kids ride, right? And we're saying all of them. Now it's regulated from a CC perspective because of the power that's in the vehicle. That's what I'm saying. I just want to make sure that we're clear on which ones will fall under this ordinance. Because if state law don't recognize this as a vehicle, like you can have one of those little electrical bikes that go 100 cc's and you're permitted to ride them, and motor vehicle won't register them because they don't meet the 150 threshold.
Yeah.
Whatever that exact threshold is.
Okay. But
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to, like, would those bikes still fall under this?
no, because, well, like either way, it shouldn't be. What we regulated in this ordinance is them being able to drive it on the roadway, right? So if we're talking about like kid vehicles and things like that, they still wouldn't be allowed to drive on a roadway.
No,
That's
but they
what the
drive
first
on the
ordinance.
sidewalk.
I mean, yeah, if you got a
Or they-
little kid with a motor scooter or a toy on the sidewalk, that's different, but these shouldn't be actually in the street and on the roadway, driven like an automobile.
Now, what about the e-bikes? The electrical bikes?
We have the
This is
captain.
for,
Yeah.
We have the captain.
This one is roller skates, inline skates, skateboards, bicycles, electrical scooters, dirt bikes, and all-terrain vehicles. So just like skateboards or bicycles shouldn't be in the middle of the street either. Like there's rules against that. Now, they might be there, but they should be in the bike lane
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
because they're not a motor vehicle. So yeah, they shouldn't be there. Do people do it? Yeah, they do it.
Council President, would you like the captain to speak?
Yes, Captain, could you please speak?
Sure, I'll adjust it for you. Any of those e-bikes that go more than 30 miles an hour, they have to be registered. I checked with motor vehicles. They're considered a motorcycle, but just below, their registration fee is $60. Regular motorcycle, 75 and cost them. But those e-bikes that go 30 miles an hour, they're supposed to have a license plate registration. Also, I'll send it to you, I'll send it back to you, Frank.
Just send you the information.
Bike that has a VIN on it or a
Mhm.
place or a license plate is supposed to have a license plate. So those e-bikes that do 30, 45, they're supposed to be registered. But most of them are electric, so this is for gas. These are the quads and the dirt bikes that people see in Jersey City driving, doing the wheelies going down the streets. This is mostly targeted toward those.
Captain, didn't we pass a law years ago, before any of us were on this council, that bicycles had to be registered and they have to wear helmets?
I know about the helmets, the registration of the bikes. I think that's a city.
I'm pretty sure we did years ago. Not us, this council, but a prior council passed that.
But the actual thing with the e-bikes, with the registration and insurance, that's actually in Title 39.
All right, thank you, Captain. Thank you. Go ahead, Councilman.
Yes.
Vote.
Okay, so Councilman Gilmore,
Oh,
your vote?
aye. Oh. Yeah, yeah.
Did I? Thank you. Councilperson DeGise,
Thank you very much, Councilwomen. I vote aye.
Councilperson Rivera. I didn't hear you.
I vote aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
City Ordinance 23-031 is adopted unanimously, 9-0. On to our next second reading ordinance, which is item 4.2. City Ordinance 23-032 is a franchise ordinance granting permission to Overlook LLC, its successors and assigns to make private improvements within the public right-of-way of Washburn Street and the public right-of-way of Oakland Avenue adjacent to Lot 1.01, Block 8203 on the official tax assessment map of the city of Jersey City to install and maintain heated sidewalks. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion to close the
Second.
public hearing was made by Councilperson Rivera on City Ordinance 23-032. I believe I heard a second from Councilperson Saleh. Is that correct?
Yep.
Councilperson Saleh, thank you. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-032, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajiano.
Just want to make one statement.
This is closed
Bad
public
action.
hearing. This is
All right, okay, I'll make it after. Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Still say.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-032 is approved unanimously, 9-0. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-032, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajiano.
I just want to make a statement, and I'm going to notify traffic engineering. We had a bad accident today at Washburn and Baldwin because of the construction going on there. If these people block the street in any way, I'm having them closed down every day. I'll vote aye, but they better not pull what across the street has been pulling.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
City Ordinance 23-032 is approved unanimously, 9-0, adopted unanimously, 9-0. On to our last second reading ordinance, item 4.3. City Ordinance 23-033 is an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City accepting the dedication of certain roadways, sidewalks, and utilities located within the Van Kuren redevelopment area and, redevelopment area that are necessary for the realignment of Van Kuren Avenue. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-033 was made by Councilperson Rivera, seconded by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-033, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-033 is approved unanimously, 9-0. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-033, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-033 is adopted unanimously 9-0. Okay, council members, on to our public speaking portion of our meeting. Members of the public, I will be calling the number and then your first name, so please pay attention to the agenda. I greatly appreciate it. So with that being said, our first speaker, Laverne, 5.1.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
About the pools, I got to address it. Because when we used to go to Persian Field, that's why I asked you before the council, how old are you? And that's the reason, because this hasn't just started about Persian Field. If you didn't live in that area back in the day, you couldn't go to that pool anyway. And the only other ones went there that didn't have to pay back in the day was senior citizens. Other than that, it's not new. We couldn't go to Persian Field unless you lived there and you had to show your ID. Because my nephew lived there. I used to live in Washington Towers up in Union City. Now to do this in the Lafayette, Bergen Lafayette area, hard as we fought for that pool down there on Van Horn and Johnson, to do this to us, it's a disgrace. You all closed down Harmon Street Pool 20 years ago. It's sitting up there. When I was young, under that turnpike, we had municipal pool. We had pools in our area that got closed up and we fought hard for that one pool that we do have. And this is a disgrace, what's going on now. We got 22 school pools. It hardly be open. We need to go back to the school pools in the school. When I was 5 years old, we used to go to 22 pool. The boys went in the morning and the girls went in the afternoon. We have to have remedy. Our city is getting enlarged. It is not big as it used to. And in my hood, that one pool is not enough. And to do it, what you're getting ready to do is going to be a disgrace. Councilman, you got my back. Whatever step you want to make, I'm down with you. Because I handle a summer camp, and we've been using the sprinklers in Barry Lane. We can't even go to the pool. It's a disgrace. What's going on now, we got to work together. Our city is too big. Open up some more pools. You got 2 pools in the height. You got Pavonia Pool and then you got Persian. Your next public pool is all the way down on Johnson and Maple Street and Van Horn. We don't have another pool. Open some pools up out in Ward A, Ward B, Ward F. You're killing us. Councilman, let's get on board, brother. Please, let's get on board. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.2, Darren. Is Darren here? 5.2? No? Thank you. Next, 5.3, Sergio. 5.3, Sergio. Not here? Okay, 5.4, Daryl.
Yes. Like I said before, my name is Darryl White. Living in Hudson County, Jersey City all my life. And the situation with living in father's housing is there's so many homeless people in Hudson County. This is terrible. People sleep anywhere. Homeless people, man. You understand what I'm saying? This don't even make no sense. All this money y'all get from the government, and y'all getting chunky off of that money and ain't doing anything about this homelessness. It's sad. Y'all speaking about the wrong things instead of the right things, man. And these young kids, man, they don't have no after-school jobs. They should have after-school jobs. Y'all addressing the wrong stuff. Do y'all walk up and down out there in the streets to know what's going on? Y'all content. All right, y'all living however y'all want to live. You understand what I'm saying? And don't y'all just forget about the small people. But I can't. I'm from here. I'm a part of that homelessness. I reach out to y'all. I ain't never asked y'all for anything in my life. I don't even like dealing with y'all type of people. I know y'all ain't right. You understand what I'm saying? I'm from these streets all my life. And it's a shame how this is going down, man. It's sad. When y'all walk up out of here, y'all gonna forget about this. Y'all gonna throw this on the back burner. Y'all stuck in y'all old ways. This is different. Like it's different. This is 23, and people homelessness like this. This is 2023. Shouldn't this shame? And y'all bring them in by the bus loads. People from different countries. Y'all are throw them in all types of hotels and all that. But the people from here all their life is sleeping on street corners, on trains, anywhere, park. But here it is, y'all quick to reach out to somebody ain't even from here. Y'all gotta wake up, man. It ain't about that. It ain't about just getting chunky and forget about your peoples.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.5, Kieran.
Hello, good day. I am Kira. I have lived in Jersey City my whole life. Last week was Earth Day. I want to talk about greenhouse gases. Jersey City is a good place with balancing greenhouse gases, and I think that if we work together, we can do even more. The city should see if we can make solar panels cheaper so more people can use the electricity without making greenhouse gases like methane and nitrogen. Solar panels can go on top on more big buildings, like maybe even City Hall. They can be really powerful, like the one Liberty Science Center has in the parking lot. Target has them too, and so does St. Peter's University. I feel good about the new electric garbage truck. Maybe we could have more cars that use vegetable oil. My pop told me about how they are going to use vegetable oil to help fly some airplanes. We watched a brain pop video at school about air and water pollution and how things are dying. So soil samples say that the soil isn't good. But we need to grow more things in Jersey City, like trees and flowers. They make the air better. Thank you for listening to my idea tonight.
Thank you.
Oh, Kieran,
Thank you.
Kieran,
Thank you.
Kieran, I just want to say what a great job. I'm over here.
Right here. It's right middle.
No one likes to look at Sean. Yeah, you're right. So I just wanted to let you know you did an amazing job. Public speaking is not an easy thing to do, and you read so well. I am so impressed. Great job.
Thank you.
I'm your next speaker.
You're Megan?
Yeah.
Okay, Megan, go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Kira's mom. It was his idea to come and speak to you all tonight. He is a Magic School Bus book about the climate challenge where the kids reach out to their elected officials, and he wanted to do the same. These are complex issues that I didn't learn about when I was in kindergarten, and I think most of us probably didn't either. I think it's good for the kids to understand, but he's been worried since learning about climate change, and he wanted to find something he could do. I wanted to just add a few details to what Kier said. Our family installed solar panels on our home on the west side last year, and we now generate about 70% of our electricity, which is amazing. But it was also quite expensive, and we were lucky to be able to do it. The Federal Inflation Reduction Act actually introduces more opportunities for homeowners to go green, including increasing the tax credit for solar panels. I encourage the city to look into how they can help residents navigate these opportunities. I also encourage the city to look into direct investments in more green infrastructure, both for its own properties and programs, and to help residents handle the costs, as many communities across the country are doing. My kids are very excited about the new electric garbage truck. We got to see it at the Lincoln Park Earth Day event this weekend. It's important to celebrate these steps forward towards reducing fossil fuels. I also want to thank this council for your resolution opposing the NJ Transit widening project. That project is an environmental disaster and a huge impediment on quality of life for residents at the exact time that we need to be utilizing more and more mass transit. Here talked about growing things. He doesn't know that Jersey City's tree canopy has been an ongoing topic of discussion. I want to just stress that tree canopy is an important and lovely tool for managing heat in neighborhoods and reducing flooding. I hope to see continued action to increase the number of trees that will thrive in our environment, particularly in lower income neighborhoods where the heat trapping benefits are most needed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.7, Alcina. Last name Oliver. No? Okay, next speaker, 5.8, Rosalie. It's not here. Okay. Next speaker, Jessica, 5.9. Thank you, Marlene.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jessica Taub. I'm a homeowner in Ward B. Jersey City, like any city, has its strengths, it has its challenges. I definitely speak up when I witness injustice, but I also really try to give credit where credit is due. And one of the areas where I've constantly given credit over the last number of years is our Jersey City Recreation Department programs that my children have participated in quite a bit. My daughter is here with her soccer team tonight. She is participates 3 times a week with Coach Ali for the last couple of years, and is gaining essential skills, not just soccer skills, but team building skills, conflict resolution skills. And we wouldn't be able to afford to send her to a private soccer class 3 times a week. We just couldn't do it. We go to the pools on a regular basis. My daughter has attended the summer camp the last couple of years, and I have always been incredibly impressed with the quality of the programs, the staff, the counselors, the lifeguards, the security guards at the pools. They're members of our own community. They know me by face and name. Really wonderful programs. And I've been so proud to live in a city that offers these programs funded by tax dollars, as they should be, for the common good. And, you know, I know other towns and they're like, wow, that's so amazing. And it's wonderful. We have a city where we have too many young people living in poverty who cannot afford $14 for a family of 4 on a Saturday afternoon on a regular basis, who cannot afford potentially even $40 for an 8-week soccer program. For us to say that those are nominal fees is really, to me, a very privileged position. And I think it's unfair. And I think we have to, our tax dollars are meant, these are programs that should be tax funded. You know, healthy kids make for a healthy city. And I cannot even believe we're considering starting to charge. We really need, that's going in the wrong direction. Okay, I think, you know, downtown has gotten shiny. There's a lot of new high rises and a lot of new fancy things coming into Jersey City, but we still have a lot of folks really, really struggling. Even my family, right? We're middle income. We could probably pay the $14, but it wouldn't be easy, right? We might have to cut back on something else.
And then for families who have way less than we do, it's just not feasible. And then these memberships, maybe you save money if you pay $200 at once, but people who are living check to check don't have that kind of money at one time. You cannot allow these fees to go forward with the pools, the soccer programs, the track and field, the summer camps. It's got to stop. We have to go back towards being a city that is friendly to low income and middle income folks, not just wealthy folks. Please, I'm asking you, I've heard that maybe we're going to push this back a little bit, but even next year is still going to be not okay. We can't do this. And finally, in my last 10 seconds, please pass a universal right to counsel without an income base, and please enforce the payroll tax and enforce the rent control laws. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.10, Daryl. 5.10, Daryl. Okay. Next, 5.11, Lily.
Of Kieran. I don't think I can. Good evening, council, and thank you for the opportunity to address Resolution 23-282 from April 12th. My name is Lily Holland, and I am the owner and CEO of Lady L Cannabis with proposed retail location of 547 West Side Avenue, which I acquired in August of 2022. As a Class 5, 100% women registered and owned microbusiness, a Jersey City resident, and a business owner with CRC and CCB conditional license approval and waiting to be seen by the planning board on May 9th, I encourage you to reconsider the 6-month moratorium on issuing resolutions for applicants who are already in the pipeline. While I'll believe that the sentiment and intent behind the resolution comes from a good place with both the CCB and the City Council wanting to give local applicants like myself the opportunity to stand up our businesses first, this will be a death sentence, eliminating from the process the very people it is meant to protect. Here are the short and long-term consequences. CRC conditional license loss. I'm personally at the second request for extension, and my license will expire in less than a week. Losing my state conditional license will send me back in the CRC pipeline and incur additional costs and significant delays in the state approval process. Speed to market. A 6-month moratorium will delay Lady L Cannabis becoming operational by estimated 18 months, which defeats the purpose of this resolution to help applicants like myself to open up as soon as possible. Loss of investment and incurring additional costs. There's been significant upfront cost for me, as well as missed opportunities. For example, the $250,000 state grant, which I was not able to apply to due to lack of full municipal approval. So with each day not getting closer to being operational, I'm losing more. I'm 100% self-funded, so I cannot afford that. I can't even imagine what that means to folks who have investors behind them and who are losing hope. Also, additional delays post-moratorium lift with the CCB accepting applications during the 6 months, the pipeline will get even more crowded. And lastly, advantageous positioning for the multi and out-of-state operators will die. They will wait it out. They will rule Jersey City, not the small business applicants like myself. 20 seconds. So few proposed resolutions allow for all applicants currently in the pipeline to move forward and be seen by the City Council in the order they currently have. Prioritize Jersey City residents, the micro businesses, the social equities, all of the people with CRC and conditional licenses.
Thank you.
And impose
you.
a moratorium
Thank you.
on the new applications.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.12, Jordy.
Good evening, council members. In December of 2022, my hometown of Elizabeth, New Jersey, lost rent control. Well, we lost to members of city council who sold out to developers. And here in Jersey City, there's been strong growing support to keep rent control and, more importantly, right to council to be enforced on the city of Jersey City. This is vital for these residents. The city of this city is known to have higher rent prices. They're making many people can no longer afford rental. And more importantly, have found many of their properties to be uninhabitable and unsafe. If I've seen this here in Elizabeth, that would be a huge problem, and we need right to counsel, not just for Jersey City, but for all of the state of New Jersey. We demand the importances of all the tenants. Tenants deserve their voice. With right to counsel, they have a voice to address their concerns. They have a voice to address their concerns of how they're living, their prices of how to afford their rent, and more importantly, to demand accountability for owners and the companies who are making these properties and only to be like the developers. Without right to counsel, these people behind me can no longer afford a house. That's right. It's becoming more expensive to the point that it's going to be close to their neighbors across the Hudson, or even equivalent to that to Singapore, which is one of the most expensive cities to live in the entire world. None of us want this. And in a time when high inflation is already driving us to the point where we can no longer afford a single penny to make our ends meet, it's very important to remember the vital importance of those who are living in apartments. Right to counsel is never been a crucial time for us to be kept in mind. And it's so important that we need this right now, for not just for all of us in Jersey City, but for the entire state. Take this into consideration to those in front of me. Enforce 260. Make sure you put these people first. And more importantly, to remember that gentrification is destroying this Jersey City and for all of us who are living in communities like this. It's now or never. And I encourage you to pass this right now, pass right to council, and to make sure Jersey City is affordable for all of its residents. Thank you very much, and long live our workers and all of Jersey City.
Our next speaker, 5.13, Sue. Sue, 5.13. None, not here. Next speaker, 5.14, Daniel.
I got a gang with me, guys.
Okay.
Good evening,
Good evening.
council people, Madam President. Come on up, guys. Where's Jessica?
You guys line up like that, man. So
Proud to say she's one of my parents.
that's line up like that. So proud to see some of my students there, Danny.
Yes. All of these people, young men and women you see before you are Jersey City recreation participants, young boys and girls who are just a small composite of the more than 1,000 families that I interact with daily. And I'm very proud of each one of them. They're all very good, strong student athletes. And like I said, I couldn't be more proud of our young girls and the boys that we have. Thank you again for this few moments. Where do I begin? As I sat here, listening to you guys and observing you go about the business of your business, I couldn't help but think, you guys represent the best of us. You are the ones that we, the citizens of Jersey City, elected and chose to represent us and our best interests. And I have no doubt in my mind that each of you at your core has that best interest in their heart. I know you do. Most of you know me personally, some of you better than others. You know my family and its history here in Jersey City, the deep roots that we have here. Members of my family have served in Jersey City for decades in education, in law enforcement, and in the political arena as well, culminating with my uncle, Glenn Cunningham, who served the highest seat in Jersey City as mayor in a tragically brief but effective time before his untimely death in 2004. This move to begin to charge families in Jersey City, in a city where 50% of our students are living below the poverty line and are dealing with food insecurity, to now have to turn and try to pay for recreation activities that have historically and traditionally been free, I call it a crime of commission and a crime of omission. A crime of commission on the parts of those who sit in positions that make these decisions from a place that I have to honestly say is from a place of detachment and not being in touch with the people of the city. And I think it's a further step into the awful process that the gentleman spoke about of gentrification with displacement that we see happening here in Jersey City. And it's a crime of omission, not from the point of many who would say that the parents, particularly those in the Black and Latino communities, that.
Thank you.
It was a minute and a half when I got up here.
It's only 3 minutes. I'm sorry. We
I
have to
didn't
follow
get
the
3
rules.
minutes.
We have to follow the rules.
Well, I want you to see the face.
Right.
They're not just numbers or names on a piece of paper, council people.
We know.
We're appealing to you to help to keep Jersey City recreation free and accessible.
Thank you.
To our young people.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.15, Philip.
Members of the City Council and to the clerk, I'm here to tell you the truth according to Philip Carrington. I am Philip Carrington. When you elect a councilman or councilwoman, you elect a lawmaker. When you have a question of law, you come to the lawmakers. I've been here for 9 months asking the simple question of law, cannot get an answer. Tonight and every night, you are making laws, you are amending laws or tabling the laws. That's what this meeting is all about. And so when the constituent come here and can't get a question answer on laws, something is wrong. Let me give you an example. I have a New Jersey license. This license cannot be suspended or revoked or the police stop me from operating unless I violate the law. And if I do and question them, they would even send me an answer, or I can go to the internet and the answer will be there why the license was suspended or revoked. I had a Jersey license. It was revoked and or suspended. And the police stopped us from operating. Of course, we asked the police to give us some tickets. They couldn't. There was no violation of the laws. We came to you repeatedly. What was the law that you can submit to us that caused the revocation or the suspension? You didn't do that. Everyone, we asked you several times. Last week, we were told, not we, I was told, she made a decision. Who was the she? No answer. Well, you got to see James Shea. Well, whoever the she was or whoever James Shea is, they are just the enforcer of laws. But you are the lawmakers, all of you. And you cannot answer a simple question of law. It is because the city gone rogue. It's just as simple as that. Again, the answer lies here. If you can answer the question, or Sean Gallagher does not have the record, you have the law division. I have no reason to go nowhere else. There's something wrong. That's my viewpoint. I'm Philip Carrington. Good night.
Thank you. The next speaker, 5.16, Duncan. 5.16, Duncan. Not here. Next, 5.17, Eliza.
Hi, good evening, Council. So I'm here to speak on behalf of myself
and support the independent cannabis operators with the best intentions for this city. It is to my understanding that my company, The Other Side Dispensary, is slated for the next agenda, but the Aquarian, disruptor of injustice, humanitarian, good trouble military leader in me couldn't waver as I stand amongst others who are not in my position. I've come to the conclusion that it is God's intention to use me as a vessel. So despite wanting to be very rich, I believe in lifting others as I climb. I took a hit of $30,000 from the planning board by no fault of the planning board, but just the nature of their backlog and the requirement of needing professionals to speak on your behalf. I took it on the chin, just like many other barriers that I encountered, but I'm tired of taking it on the chin. I'm tired of settling with the thought that as minorities, these are the cards we were dealt, as if it is an excuse to live such a hard life. As if it is a justification for the systemic challenges that have been intentionally placed in our past as people from marginalized backgrounds. During COVID, I worked as an essential worker in New York City. Then 7 months into COVID, I was involuntarily mobilized to the Middle East deployment from October 2020 to August 2022. Despite having a newborn at home, many of whom much of you have met, I like to take her to a lot of events and show her the importance of civic engagement. I've also lost my doctoral chair at NJCU due to the president's mismanagement of funds. While I was deployed, I had a nightmare tenant that slaughtered livestock in the backyard of my property. And that also made national news. And the 2 properties in the city under my ownership experienced over 13 floods in 3 years due to Jersey City infrastructure and challenges. Sometimes I wonder how I haven't given up. And to top it all off, after 10 years of military service and 7 years of state public service, I've decided to bet on me 100%. Leaving my corporate job after being medically separated from the U.S. Navy, my team and I are $150,000 in this licensing process. And every day it's unexpected, unanticipated, nonsensical challenges that are imposed without proper technical or evidence-based considerations. I'm done with a hard life. And as much as I'd like to speak for myself, I think many operators coming from disadvantaged groups share my sentiments. Cannabis has offered me and many others a new opportunity at generational wealth and a soft life, a life with less fights, burdens, and barriers, a life that allows Black and brown people to thrive and not just survive. Trust me, my sacrifice meter is unmatched, but that doesn't mean that I want to continue having a hard life. We have the opportunity for the greatest transfer of wealth this nation has ever seen. Weed, cannabis, has the ability to change the trajectory of lives in disadvantaged groups everywhere. And I hope that the city is really taking consideration and prioritizing those from marginalized groups. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.18, Jake. Not here. Thank you. 5.19, Lisa. Lisa's not here. Thank you. 5.20, Rochelle. No. Next, 5.21, Kevin.
Hello? Last time, Madam President said, "We are acting as if the council isn't doing anything when the council is actually doing everything it can." Today, you will hear our response. It has been almost 1 year since I approached Councilman Solomon with our rent control dilemma. At that time, Dinah Hendon told both of us our towers were subject to rent control because the original owners never filed a claim of exemption required by both Jersey City ordinance and New Jersey statute. Since the administration seemed to be actively avoiding rent control enforcement, in collaboration with some of you, we created a standardized form to make it significantly more challenging for the administration to evade their responsibility. As best as we can tell, the mayor would like to avoid the use of this very simple tool, so its approval gets delayed indefinitely. So far, we are 16 weeks into the 6 to 8 week timeline we were told to expect. It is very clear every delay of our rent leveling board hearing pushes out the approval of the form, so it can't help Portside Towers. Some on the council told me it wouldn't matter if we got a form approved. The administration would find a way to get it to not apply to us. Can you see why some people are so upset? Some who come here while continuing to be homeless? The goalposts get moved to an updated Ordinance 260 when enforcement is all we really need. And the proposed changes help the landlords increase the amount they can charge under rent control in case we win the enforcement battle. It's upsetting, even maddening. We are all continuing to overpay, and no, it is not rich people problems, as Fulop has said to some who are sympathetic to our situation. We are here to let Mayor Fulop know this is now his problem until he fixes it. Press, here's a quote you may want to print tomorrow. Mayor Stephen Fulop is in violation of NJSA 40:69A-40, which dictates the first duty of all mayors in the state of New Jersey. It says, the mayor shall enforce the charter and ordinance of the municipality. Similarly, the governor is charged with faithfully upholding and executing the laws of New Jersey. This violation of the mayor's first duty is defined by Chapter 3, Article 3 of the New Jersey Ordinance and Title 40 of the New Jersey Statute should disqualify him from ever becoming the governor. I urge you to approve measures to improve enforcement, which is within your power. If the mayor thinks he can be governor while not enforcing the ordinances of his city, he'll have to get through us first. Now that we know for sure that he is the reason for so much suffering, every council meeting will be the Fulop show while we continue to plan for a historic recall. Finally, the ACLU has sued many mayors for less social media censorship than Fulop's actions. A dedicated team of volunteers has committed to providing the ACLU.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, 5.22, Renetta.
I want to share some very personal story about how I'm dealing with the situation at Portside. I come from Brazil, and it's a country that is plagued with corruption, as you may know, where the law only works based on the personal interest of politicians so they can gain more power. Does that sound familiar? When you start picking and choosing how you apply the law and you start finding excuses to benefit some, and in this case, developers and real estate companies, you are weakening the institutions that make this country function, unless you want to become a third world country. And now the mayor wants to take this rotten way of public service to a governor level. Funny, if not tragic. He mentioned in one of his interviews, and I quote, "My career has always been guided by a strong desire to take on difficult challenges and find solutions that help improve people's lives," unquote. So whose lives is he talking about? The developers? Because he's definitely not on the side of his constituents. By not taking action, by not enforcing the law, the mayor and everyone involved is making a choice and is enabling a criminal action to go unpunished. And because of your inaction, the mayor and everyone agreeing with him is destroying the constituents' lives. Do you know how many people were forced out of our buildings because of illegal, unconscionable rent increase so far? That has lifelong impact in their families, their mental health, their jobs, and most important, their kids' lives. Those kids had to be moved around in the middle of the school year, most likely to a worse school system. Just to give my example, my rent went from $3,900 to $4,800. It's a $900 increase per month. That's $11,000 a year. Unless you have that type of money to throw away, I don't. So what was my option? I felt like I was being held hostage by the landlord in a very vulnerable position. My moving costs a lot. And the further away I move, the less time I have to spend with my child, because I commute to New York City every day, and it would be really hard to find a better school system than the one we have in our Portside area. So for me, at least until the next rent increase, I decided to squeeze the extra $11,000 a year, which I'm taking away from spending on local commerce, on small shops around our community. So besides the economic loss that Portside is causing to the entire community.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.23, Sanjay. Sanjay? Not here. Okay, next, 5.24, Sylvia.
Dear council members, I will start by quoting Mayor Fulop. As housing affordability and public housing shortages reach crisis levels across the nation, Jersey City is punching above our weight once again to increase affordability and provide pivotal, life-changing opportunities to help out residents achieve financial stability and self-sufficiency. Wow. Mr. Mayor, is this a joke? I wonder if you ever hear what is being said in these council meetings, or if you are aware of the content of the messages your team censors on social media, or if you ever read national newspapers. So let me help here. Maybe your lawyers will be able to debrief you on the reality of Jersey City renters' lives. Here is a selection of just a few comments recently posted on social media under your own posts by renters who sadly get deleted shortly after publications and are now nowhere to be found. These are all here. They are screenshots because you cannot find them online anymore. The first one from Rita. Dear Mayor Fulop, do you plan to cover your enforcement of rent control progress? Or do you plan to address the recall rumors, given Jersey City has become the most expensive city for renters, given your administration's lack of rent control enforcement? Will you finally address the public outcry that has made national news regarding the non-enforcement of rent control in Jersey City? Another one from DK. Market rate in Jersey City means whatever Real Pages dictates. Jersey City has become the most expensive city for renters in the nation. Before building new affordable housing, how about keeping the existing rental units affordable? Renters face rent hikes of 30% and more in buildings that are under rent control. And one last, from a top fan this time, still censored, Tom. Enforce our current rent control laws. Why is this mayor ignoring them? I have many others, but I don't have time. Why can't we see any of these comments anymore? Why are they censored? As everyone can see, they are not offensive, but just testimonies of JC renters keeping the mayor accountable. In fact, if you scroll down the mayor's page on Facebook, you will see that no comments related to rent control appear. If the press or other parties are interested in knowing more about these censored messages, I would encourage you to contact the New Jersey SCLU. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.25, Eric.
Good evening, council members. For months now, this group have provided detailed facts that substantiates the case for a rent control affecting many buildings in Jersey City. Let me summarize some of our findings so it will be easier for everyone to see why this administration's lack of action is incomprehensible. 1. After unconscionably high rate increases, the tenants of Portside Towers discovered that both towers and other buildings in the area should have been under rent control according to the city's own laws. But this administration has shown no interest in enforcing Ordinance 260. It's been the opposite. We've been met with silence or direct opposition. 2. Jersey City's mayor seems to only appoint people loyal to him in all executive positions, with no regard to qualifications. One former director of the landlord-tenants relations both written and verbally confirmed that both towers were under rent control before a sudden change of mind just before the formal decision was made. The new director won't even decide about the 2 new cases Port Cyrus put before him, even though that is literally the one main responsibility he has. 3. At some point, maybe the administration started realizing that this group's persistence would eventually make the law triumph. So the next step was then to change officials' forms without any formal process, so they would benefit the landlords moving forward. But that was not enough. The new draft of Ordinance 260 will in reality eliminate rent control if approved, by letting landlords reset the rent to a market value every time a new tenant moves in. Given how the landlords collude and abuse their power, it will in reality probably be way above market value. 4. It's obvious that the mayor and his administrations collaborate with developers and have no interest in enforcing rent control. But why? Could it possibly have something to do with the money these companies contribute to the super PAC associated with the mayor? Super PACs, as we know, does not limit the amount a corporation can donate, and it makes it easy to conceal who's behind the money. To conclude, do the council members want to be associated and remembered as the ones who sided with big, greedy landlords and turned a blind eye to the city laws? Or if you want to fight for your constituents' rights, then look no further than to Hoboken and Union City for inspiration. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.26, Jessica.
Good evening, City Council. This issue of censorship has been really heavy on my mind, so I hope you'll listen for a few minutes. And as many of you may be aware, there are significant challenges in our community right now with housing and affordability. And many people are struggling to find an affordable place to live. And in the face of this utter lack of meaningful enforcement with these ordinances that are on the books, many people are being forced to leave. I've really noticed lately in our community that we're seeing a huge change in the people that are able to afford that building. One of the challenges we've faced, however, in our plea for help is censorship. It's a matter of great concern. Freedom of speech is a fundamental right that should be protected at all times. I think we all agree. That's why we go through this process of speaking every week. Freedom of speech is a fundamental right, and our mayor has been censoring comments from his constituents online, and that is a blatant violation of law. Censorship, where voices advocating for change are being silenced on social media and other platforms, is a serious issue because it impedes our ability to engage in public discourse and organize for change. This behavior is unacceptable, and it goes against the very principles upon which our democracy was founded. Our elected officials, you, are supposed to represent us, and you have a duty to listen to our opinions and concerns. By censoring comments, the mayor is not only breaking the law, but betraying that trust that we've tried to establish. We cannot allow this behavior to continue unchecked. We stand up for our rights and demand that our elected officials respect them. We must hold them accountable for actions, ensure that they are fulfilling their duties as representatives of the people. Fortunately, there are things we can do to fight back. One option is to unify our voices. By joining forces with others, we can amplify our voices together and make it harder for those in ultimate power to ignore us. City Council, I really do understand that you operate in a challenging environment where sometimes simple decisions may appear to be much more complicated. However, practicing ethical conduct and adhering to our principles of law in this country are simple. We are here to stand with you if you choose to fight the status quo, or if you're fighting an attempt to dissuade you from the ethical path. I urge you all to speak out against this illegal behavior and demand that our mayor stop censoring comments online. Let us remind him that we will not tolerate actions that undermine our democracy and our rights as citizens. Together, we can work towards a more just and equitable community for all. And to join our community, follow us on Twitter at RentControlJC. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.27, Tom.
Good evening. My name is Tom Conrad, the super fan or major fan. I've been at the resident in Portside Towers now for 16 years, and I have a simple question for the council. Which side of the law are you on? Next month will be a year since I submitted my petition for a legal rent increase, and here we are again with little or no progress. That being said, there are other parts of New Jersey and the states that are seeing progress, thankfully. On March 26th of this year, the New Jersey Supreme Court upheld the appellant's decision supporting Union City Rent Stabilization Board by establishing the legal precedents of no filing, no exception, something that the Jersey City Office of Landlord-Tenants Relations has chosen not to do, therefore ignoring the law. In fact, the mayor replaced Dinah Hendon with a pastor that has no legal background, has further ignored the 2 de novo petitions he received over 2 months ago, and the council hasn't done anything or held him accountable for this. The council has also asked the mayor, or the council has also now called out the mayor for his censorship on both social media platforms and publishing crime statistics. The Maryland governor learned this the hard way when he had to settle a lawsuit with the ACLU. Oh, and now the US Supreme Court has agreed to hear a pair of cases on the First Amendment has to say about social media accounts maintained by elected officials. Both these, lost my notes, both these and many upcoming headlines won't look good for the mayor or any council person's re-elections bid. You were elected to support us, not the full political machine or big developers. I have another question. How come the mayor of Hoboken takes the sides of citizens and our mayor, after a year, hasn't done anything remotely close? Why aren't the Jersey City lawyers helping with similar letters like the one sent to Avalon Bay last week by the attorney for the city's rent leveling board stabilization? Council President Waterman, last meeting you said you want on the record that you get the job done. Do you really support us? Are your hands really tied? I honestly can't name one thing that the council has done in the years since I've submitted my petition. So for the record, I would like to suggest a consultation with your colleagues in Hoboken to learn what you really can and should be doing for the people that you represent. Now, for any candidate running for office in Jersey City or the governor's race, please contact us rentcontrolgc@gmail.com for copies of any of the documentations that we've discovered or background.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.28, Lola.
Good evening, City Council. This City Council and our mayor seems to be stuck on identifying meaningful approaches to solving the issue of predatory landlords. I'd therefore like to offer some advice. When we human beings are stuck on a course of action, it is critical to look at the value proposition that first begins with ourselves foundationally. So the questions that should guide our elected officials should be about what really matters personally for your careers, and most important, for your very personhood. Is it your constituents or relationships to advance your own career aspirations? Balance is important here. If your constituents matter, and you can rest assured that they do, then let's look at what Ravi Bala, Hoboken's mayor, is doing. He is actively engaged in a campaign to confront developers head on. In a recent letter dated April 13th to the CEO of Lincoln Property Company, he's plain spoken in labeling their rent increases as unconscionable and outrageous. He uses individual examples to demonstrate the harm caused, much of which you have heard from us repeatedly, using words for effect like displacement by moving out of the area, harm to the family budget,
And finally, highlighting these increases as unbecoming of a good neighbor. He furthers his action by asking Lincoln to revisit their course and to work with residents to find reasonable increases in line with the consumer price index. These letters are being sent to every landlord in Hoboken who preys on the customer. As our current mayor plans career moves to the governorship, speaks about affordability in Jersey City, and dances with developers with greed on their minds, he must understand what hypocrisy really looks like. A person with a six-figure salary now needs affordable housing in Jersey City? Really? En serio? This captive audience, that is us, who they depend on for their greed, is suffering. As they look to rinse and repeat, we again ask that you focus on the value proposition that is inclusive of your constituents and place them on top of the heap of needs. We do not wish to deny landlords their profits, but yet they continue to disregard our pain, hurting us all for only their benefit. Please make it stop. You have the power to act, and with some creativity and care, you can help in maintaining the balance we so desperately need.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.29, Mark. Mark here. Thank you. Next speaker, Suzanne, 5.30.
Good evening, Council. I would like you to imagine the following story. You and your spouse are Jersey City Council members. You have a daughter who works hard and makes a respectable salary as a financial analyst for a top bank. She lives with her two young kids in Jersey City. Even though she has an otherwise good salary and job, she says, "Mom, Dad, I don't know what to do. My rent went up 30% last year, and I fear that next month I'm going to get another unconscionable rent increase. Inflation is so high, I can barely afford my rent, support my children, and buy healthy food for us. I have cut into my savings, I am not putting money away, and more to my retirement, and I can't save for my children's college." She asks you, what can she do? She says, because my salary is technically too high, I cannot have any representation from a city lawyer to advocate for me and my kids. Even though we have an ordinance 260 that says no filing, no exemption, my landlord is still taking advantage of us. And why is it that our mayor, Mayor Fulop, has been silent on this issue when the mayors of Hoboken and Union City are publicly defending their residents to the landlords? Do you know why, Mom and Dad? I even tried to comment on some of his posts asking why he isn't enforcing his own laws, but then my comments have been deleted, essentially silencing me. You say, daughter, you should move out of Jersey City if you can't afford to live here. After a year of other tenants fighting for the same issue you are facing, Fulop doesn't want to follow Ordinance 260 and to support 70% of his residents who also pay our salaries. We could investigate why he isn't enforcing his own laws and why he is censoring his social media, but we have other priorities. I hope you can figure out your situation. Council, it has been 1 year that we are fighting for our rights and for those of 70% of Jersey City who pay your salaries and who also will choose to vote or not to vote for you in soon to come elections. We have asked you to investigate Mayor Fulop and his lack of enforcement of 260. Why haven't you investigated? The Supreme Court of New Jersey has ruled in favor of the tenants of Union City in the Willow Ridge case, a decision which caused the appellate decision to stand, which was no filing, no exemption. Allowing our case to go to Superior Court would frankly just be embarrassing. You all know what the right thing is to do. No filing, no exemption. You all know that a right to counsel for all would decrease evictions, homelessness, and allow financial stability, something that Fulop apparently wants. The question is, will you and Fulop do what's right? Or will the Supreme Court or another federal agency have to? I have 17 seconds. This new redevelopment plan for affordable housing, to me, is paychecks. Paychecks to you know who. Enforce your own laws.
Next speaker, 5.31, Dina. Yes, 5.31.
Forgot my number.
Good evening, Madam President. I also would like to start by addressing your comments at the close of the last meeting. First, I challenge the statement that the council has done all that it could. The role of enforcement of the law and all local ordinances is the job of the mayor and his appointees, as you've heard repeatedly tonight. We have persistently pointed out since last year that this is not being done. And while we appreciate the efforts of the council members, Saleh, Solomon, Gilbert, in strengthening Chapter 260, including the newly proposed right to counsel, this doesn't address the current enforcement. Time and again, your community has told you here that there's a large population of renters besides Portside in buildings across Jersey City who are being abused by corporate landlords who have not followed the legal process to obtain exemptions from rent control. It's my understanding that it's the council's job to investigate. For example, why Chiron Richardson is not doing his job to identify these criminal actions and to enforce the law. Also, there were petitions that were submitted to Mr. Richardson over 2 months ago, well beyond the time limit according to the law, and we have repeatedly asked why they're not being addressed. In addition, last month, we had a commitment from Councilmember Saleh, I believe, that there would be an investigation into the illegal changing of the official annual landlord registration form in the middle of the administrative process to the benefit of the landlord by removing longstanding requirements. When we come to you repeatedly asking you to enforce 260, as the signs behind me say, we are asking you to do your job. So the question to you, Madam President, is when are you and this council going to investigate why Mr. Richardson is not enforcing 260? Mayor Fulop is both negligent in his duty of enforcement and is also actively suppressing public calls for accountability. I'd like to remind again the council of the censorship practices to prevent public comments that are critical of his performance in not enforcing rent control. We all noticed the reactions of this council and the legal team as we raised these concerns about this anti-democratic behavior at the last meeting. I'd like to now bring your attention again to the court cases across the nation that have already been won by the ACLU for less egregious conduct. Given recently announced political aspirations across the administration, this doesn't bode well for those who condone this behavior by remaining silent about it. While campaign funding may come from developers, the voters in this community are tenants. Campaign slogans aside, it seems this administration doesn't actually do anything about illegal rent increases because it wants our people to move out so they don't have to face them in an election.
Thank you. Next speaker, 5.32, Gary.
Hi, good evening. I'm here again this evening to speak in support of my neighbors at Portside and also in favor of a universal right to counsel ordinance. As a former member of the Jersey City Rent Leveling Board, I can assure you that shoddy treatment of tenants at the hands of the rent leveling administrator is nothing new. I witnessed it in the 1980s and 90s during my tenure. So even though decades have passed, I was not the least bit surprised when I learned how a recent administrator issued a determination that sidestepped the law in order to benefit a large corporate landlord. To be honest, I'm not worried about my friends at Portside. They are savvy, they are organized, they have gathered the resources to engage a terrific lawyer, and a recent court ruling on a similar case in Union City eliminates even the shadow of a doubt that the law is on their side. They will prevail. Yet they come here again and again, certainly out of concern for their own situation, but also to call to your attention a failing in our city's bureaucracy in the hope that other tenants will not have to endure the same frightening process they have faced. I'd also like to remind you that in 2019, Councilman Solomon produced a report documenting significant shortcomings in the rent leveling ordinance and its implementation. But now, nearly 4 years later, those loopholes remain untouched. Meanwhile, rents in Jersey City continue to spiral, forcing many residents to look elsewhere for reasonably priced housing. In closing, I have 3 asks. 1, strengthen rent control by closing the loopholes identified in that 2019 report. 2, review the performance of the Office of Tenant and Landlord Relations so that the ordinance is fully and consistently enforced. And 3, pass a universal right to counsel program that covers all tenants. And while I'm here, please let the kids and their parents swim for free. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.33, Shannon. Not here. And next, 5.34, Michelle.
Madam President, tonight you've heard about the mayor's censorship and how he stands alone among his peers, neglecting his duty to enforce the ordinances of his city, while other New Jersey mayors are safeguarding the rights of their tenant citizens. At the last city council meeting, you put a statement on the record, and that's fine. We'll get back to putting important things on the record in less than 3 minutes. In January, I began my speech with words of the day: corrupt and obfuscate. Today's word is stooge, which is defined as a person who is forced or paid by someone in authority to do an unpleasant or secret job for them. Over the last half year, even though most of you have publicly acknowledged that Portsiders are legally entitled to rent control, we've nevertheless been placated with false promises and misleading information, all in the effort to slow walk a process that you believe keeps Fulop happy with you. Fulop was first elected about 10 years ago. Since then, he's likely learned how to place stooges in key positions who will serve him without question. He's had a whole decade to build out schemes throughout Jersey City. And in less than a single year, we've managed to dismantle some of his house of cards. And we've only just begun. Every day, we learn more about Fulop's schemes and Fulop stooges who enable his schemes. Tonight, I'll just nick the surface of schemes and stooges under Fulop's direction. The Lubna Manier whistleblower case and its ongoing cost to taxpayers. The appointment of John Metro shortly after he silenced Ms. Manier. The appointment of Peter Baker just over a year after his wife hosted a fundraiser for Fulop. And by using a provisional appointment that sidesteps the necessity of taking and passing the required civil service exam, the placement of an unqualified individual into the Jersey City Housing Preservation and Landlord Tenant Office Directorship position. This allows Fulop's Corporation Counsel stooges to run those offices from behind closed doors. Discussion of schemes and stooges to be continued at a future meeting. Madam President, you may have spoken to us on the record, but we've learned that the council's words ring empty more often than not. If you wanted to get something on the record, it should have been not a speech to us that effectively voiced your discontent that we continue to show up expecting meaningful change. Instead, do what's right. Get on the record in a meaningful way. Right here, right now, literally, come down from your dais and say something from where I'm standing that calls out the mayor for all he's not doing to protect his citizenry. Anyone? Anyone? I was hoping someone would be willing to say something tonight. Thank you.
The next speaker, 5.35, Terry. Is Terry here? 5.35. No. Next, 5.36, Edward.
Hello, everybody. I'm most pleased to see Educational Gilmore. I voted for you, Councilman. I'm most pleased to see you tonight. I would like to try to get three things I'd like to address you all on tonight, but I only have 3 minutes. Community policing. The city's vision for community policing. I've been here before to talk about it, and I would just like for you to be a more progressive body. This body isn't as progressive as you should be. You don't support our vision for community policing. For instance, the city does not support community organizations on the ground that have to deal with violence. I don't see enough support from the city government, for instance, with a group, the Anti-Violence Coalition. We're on the ground dealing with gun violence, domestic violence firsthand. There isn't enough infrastructure or support from the city for violence. Another thing I would like, so community policing is very important, and I have to rush through this. There are incidents of police brutality. We need a CCRB. We need a review board here in Jersey City. We need to review our police actions, and we need to, that's what we need to do. I would like to address the city council on what made me most angry with you all was the news that you're going to likely vote to raise the fees at our local pools. And I was really hurt by it. I was disgusted because it was just like another example of you pushing us out. I feel like Black and brown people are going to be most affected by your fees, and it's a historical thing. And we see that everybody here in Jersey City, Black, white, brown, green, and yellow, are having issues, and it's going to affect us all. And so you need to reconsider whatever it is that you were thinking. Our pools, our taxes should be first order of business, and our public pools should be public amenities, and they should be free to all residents. I'm 38 years old, and they've been free. For instance, Pavonia Pool and the other one, Lafayette Pool, have been free all along. And I just would, especially in Ward A, Ms. Ridley, as my councilwoman, I would just definitely would like to support you now and in the future, reflecting how I feel. And just please do not vote to raise the fees at the pools. And rent, everyone here, the right to counsel, I feel like is an indicator that the quality of life for us in Jersey City is horrible, and gentrification is happening wild force. So I voted for Louis Spears. I would like to see the city go in a new direction, and I would implore you all to go in a new direction. Support us. Support us.
Next, 5.37, Julia.
Good evening, Council. My name is Julia Take, and I am a resident of Jersey City, and I live on 53 Bright Street. I'm also an organizer with the Right to Counsel campaign, as well as the Democratic Socialists of America. I'm here to talk on behalf of housing issues in Jersey City and to implore the council to pass a tenant's right to counsel and permit the city to collect millions in developer fees from new residential properties. Seems like the theme of tonight is the city's priorities. So I encountered a visually striking example of inequality in Jersey City this week, walking through Journal Square. Across the street from the towering luxury development known as Journal Squared, there's an SRO building for people looking for cheap rentals in dire situations. Just a block away, a man was sleeping on a bench, and it was a reminder of who and what the city prioritizes. When the needs of everyday people are not met, luxury construction projects are constantly greenlit. The Jersey City Housing Authority, the second largest public housing authority in the city, serves over 15,000 residents. Across the city, tenants rely on special housing vouchers and specialized status because it is becoming increasingly difficult to afford living here. Across the country, landlords are taking it upon themselves to illegally reject tenants with Section 8 or other low-income housing requirements because, at the end of the day, and no matter how many units they own, their priority is to make a profit. We need to establish a moral housing system that prioritizes keeping people in their homes, and we need legal protections in place to make sure that people facing eviction, landlord retaliation, and other issues are free from the anxiety of losing their homes. Right to counsel should be and is a policy that benefits everyone. Tenants will no longer have to fear facing eviction alone. Collecting fees on developments will help revitalize our communities. Tenants will be connected with rental assistance programs to help them in paying rent when they struggle to make ends meet. We need to make sure that this policy passes in its fullest scope because housing issues impact people across income levels. A costly legal battle could be devastating to anyone, and having an eviction on your record makes it harder to secure housing in the future. Adding restrictions on benefits adds extra time and burden onto vulnerable residents who would benefit from these policies the most. So our community demands are clear and they remain the same. Pass right to council with universal language, begin collecting fees on development and support affordable housing, enforce rent control, do not delay in providing much needed service, and in addition to having support from existing legal service providers, invest in in-house counsel and prioritize tenant protections in your office, because the law as it stands right now is not fair and equitable for all. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.38, Barbara.
Evening, City Council. I'm Barbara Goldberg and I live at Portside Towers. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, I'm back up here again tonight to ask you to please do the job that you were elected to do. Enforce the laws of Jersey City. No filing, no exemption. Please, no filing, no exemption.
Our next speaker, 5.39, Maria. Not here. Okay. Nope. Okay, duly noted. Next speaker, 5.40, Cameron.
Hello, my name is Cameron. I live in Ward C. I wanted to start off just saying, yeah, I agree with those who said let's keep Pavonia and Lafayette pools free, and let's make Pershing pools free as well. If there's a state funding problem, like let's go to the state. Let's have our local elected officials take a leadership role in fighting for the funding that we need at the state or national level. Anyway, and then also I wanted to echo what Mr. Perkins was saying in favor of having community civilian review board. I think it should be elected and with all the powers of of hiring, firing, and the budget and the rules of policing and all that. Let's follow the good example of Chicago and what they implemented there. As far as right to counsel. I want to speak on that. I think, again, it's a good step forward, but it needs to be a lot stronger. 2026 is way too long for many people to wait for a lawyer. How many people are going to be evicted from now until then? Yeah, I've spoken with tenants who already haven't had hot water for a year. Do they have to wait another 2 years to get somebody to help them get their hot water turned on? So we need to start that program right away, not, right now it looks like it doesn't fully go into place till 2026. And then the funding, it needs to cover everybody. I read through that Homedale builders versus Homedale case, and to me it looks like basically that just affirmed the right of municipalities to set fees to build affordable housing. It didn't say that they couldn't be used for other things. And right to counsel is not affordable housing. It's an enforcement mechanism. So why would that, moderate income rule, which the, New Jersey Fair Housing Act defines as 80% of AMI, why would that apply to right to counsel? That's for a separate need. But regardless, even if we can't do that, we need to create the funding to cover everyone as soon as possible. In New York City, they didn't create the funding, and what the courts did is they pushed through the cases. On top, because of that, we also need something in the law that says that cases can't move forward until a tenant has a lawyer, because otherwise that will create the mandate necessary to create the funding. Without that, cases are going to be pushed through, and it'll put the opposite pressure on the city council, which is to not create the funding. And then, yeah, I think we need to keep the program in-house so that's best coordinated, reduce overhead, not be having other organizations do it. All right, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Next speaker, 5.41, Alexandria.
Good evening.
My name's Alexandria. I am the CEO of Neon Heights. It's a woman minority business enterprise proposed at 535 Newark Avenue in Ward C. I'm one of the CRC conditional retail license holders that has Cannabis Control Board approval. And I wanted to speak about Resolution 23282, the moratorium being imposed on May 15th that will block applicants like myself from receiving full municipal approval and the consequences this will have on my cohort. I followed the ordinance to the T. In order to go in front of the cannabis board, we were required to execute leases. These leases are very costly, and because cannabis is federally illegal, we were really pigeonholed into areas that we could operate in. The zones we were given, the buildings that we had to be free and clear, or have cannabis-friendly lenders. So for people like me, people of color that have operational experience, I forewent my career in commercial real estate to take a minimum wage job at a medical dispensary so I can know the nuts and bolts of how to run my business. If you impose this moratorium, all of my hard work will go down the drain. Rightfully so, the cannabis board wanted to see what kind of community involvement we had. I'm on the professional council at York Street Project. I'm working with them to develop their workforce to give these women that are impoverished, that don't have life skills. I would like to include them in this burgeoning industry. I have fundraisers for PS27 every winter. I had no MOUs when I went in front of the cannabis board because I was already doing the work in the community. I'm a Jersey City resident. A huge swath of the groups that you gave resolutions to are not Jersey City residents. They are not people from affected communities. They are multi-state operators that partnered with people from outside of the state. I'm in Ward C. In a 1 block radius, there's 3 illicit cannabis shops. And I think that's hurting our community, our communication with the constituents, with local businesses, about how cannabis is going to roll out, about educating them. And, this moratorium will kill us. It will bankrupt us. It will kill our dreams, everything that we've worked for. And I really urge you to consider having a special meeting for people that have followed the ordinance to the T. I understand you're overwhelmed and have some buffer issues. I don't have any buffer issues, and it's unfair for people that did everything they could to comply with the ordinance.
Thank you.
So much for your time.
Next, 5.42, Tina.
How y'all doing? I'm Tina Knowles. Y'all know me from the community. I have an organization, Community Treasure. I've been giving out free clothes for 20 years in this community for free. I thank God for the dispensary that we do have, because what the dispensary had to do, they had to pick nonprofits. I thank God for Education in Gilmore, because I feel like anybody that come in this community, they need to get nonprofits, because nonprofits do it for free in the community. So we need people like that. So that's what for the dispensary. And another thing for the summer program, now I see why you want to charge $20 and $30 Education of Gilmore. Everybody know I'm in Education of Gilmore giving out the free clothes and stuff. So now I know why he want to charge so cheap for the community for $20 and $30, because they don't have nowhere to go. It's not fair that these kids are standing on the corner. Y'all know I live in Ward F right there on Oak and Martin Luther King. Every day. I've been living there for 12 years, and it's the same kids. Every day I'm calling Wu, and he coming up there talking to them, and they letting him know it's nothing for them to do. If you charging $300 to $150, y'all know I was a teacher in the side of the community, the parents is not going to be able to afford. And what's going to happen? The kids are going to end back outside in the side on the corner and stuff. So we got to find a plan for these kids to have somewhere to go and somewhere reasonable for them to be able to play and be able to enjoy themselves of what they doing and stuff. And I just want to thank God for Education of Gilmore, for letting us use his spot, for taking out the time for organization like me to bring in, and also to bring them kids in there every day. Because if it wasn't for me, I wouldn't be able to change their life. And that's what a leader is about. A leader is about getting out there, walking. Ms. Denise, I see you know I love you. The leaders out there is getting out there, walking around in the community and doing not only in your community, all the community. I live in a poor neighborhood. I do this for free every day out there, talking to my community and helping them. So just like if I can go out there and do it for free, everyone else can come out there. So I definitely bring up you, Education to Gilmore, for being out there. Ms. Denise, I bring up you too. That's what it's about. It's about community, and it's about us coming together and changing our community. Not the same stuff over and over. I feel bad for y'all coming up here. I live in a low-income building too, housing board too. Girl, you should see the homeless live up in there, the crip, crack, pop, living up in there. Education to Gilmore, no, he's been working with it. Just keep praying, guys. We got to work together. We got to come up here and let them know we're going to be all up in their face and letting them know. So I got y'all back, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Education Gilmore. Thank you for whoever's out there in the community, guys. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.43, Pilonda.
Tina, me over here, Tina. I love your hat.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Pilonda Glover, born and raised in Jersey City. So I'm the founder of Save a Few. And I just wanted to say I have one son, single mom, and when my son go out, I worry about him that he's not mistakenly shot by the cops or whoever, because they need to get the guns off the street. And I just worry about him. So when he go out, I tell him to stay prayed up, and I let go and let God. So I'm here on behalf of Local Motive Chelsea. And Chelsea, she's been coming with foots on the ground. We have the workshops at the Bethune Center, and the kids love her. So some of the workshops that we have is driving safety, social media, entrepreneurship, just to name a few. Chelsea's very informative. They love her. And I say with collaborating with Local Motive Dispensary will help the at-risk youth in our community. And I just wanted to say that it will help a lot, major. We will plan on taking the kids to the swimming pool, so please keep them free. So I just wanted to say that we was at the library, 34 school. We read with doctors. We Read Across America with Dr. Seuss, 3rd and 4th graders. The kids love Chelsea. She's very informative again. And I just want to say we can't save them all, but we'll start by saving one, a few, a lot, and hopefully them all. So collaborating with Chelsea and Local Motive with good intentions equal good outcome. So again, I just want to say thank you guys. And again, we can't save them all. So let's start by saving a few with collaborating, unity, helping the kids. They need a safe haven and workshops, programming, collaborating together will help them a lot. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker, 5.44, Nova.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Nova Ali, and I am here to support Chelsea and Locomotive Resolution 23-323. Chelsea I have recently gotten to know Chelsea, and she has been working with us. I also help with Save a Few. So she has been helping with the youth on Mondays at the Bethune Center. And I really would ask that if you guys can allow her to operate her local motives, and it will also help stimulate the economy and provide new taxes and new tax revenue for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.45, Natalie. Natalie? No. Next, 5.46, Megan. That's a repeat? Sorry about that. Repeat of 5.6, very good. And 5.47 is a repeat, 5.48, Iona? Ona? She's not here. And who signed up right before the start of the meeting? 5.49, Ron?
Thank you, clerk, and appreciate the opportunity to speak before the council. It's been a long time since I was here. Someone referenced Councilman Solomon's 2019 discussion on rent control, which I think was unfortunately interrupted by a couple of really horrible events and losses in Jersey City at that time. But I think the market then came under a bunch of pressures as a result of COVID. And I know that this dialogue here is important to the tenants that we've heard from before. I'm not here to talk about 260. I'm here to talk about the right to counsel. We see that in other places, and it's just so dysfunctional. And I wonder if this body has had an opportunity to actually observe the Union City rent control regime. It's ridiculous. And it's not something that I would want anybody to translate anyplace else in New Jersey, because it's not intended to create equity or balance or protection. It's intended to create an opportunity for those who would want undeserved attention and discounting. And I say that with all due respect to this council. I certainly wouldn't come in here with a lot of hype. I've never done that. I've never seen a worse rent control environment, and I've seen them all. So if that means anything to anybody, before I adopted right to counsel, I would take a look at that. But I thought, when I first saw it tonight and thought about what I might say, I thought, is there a possibility that I could find a way to support this? Is there a way that I could say, maybe you could tweak this or make a change for it, and then we could support it? Because the property owners in Jersey City don't want to have substantial issues with the governing body or with their tenancy. Those are our customers. Here's how we could support it. Indemnify us. If you agree that as the counterbalance to right to counsel, you will then indemnify the landlords against any losses that occur as of mischief undertaken under the right to counsel, then we can support it. Because what we see happening here in any right to counsel environment is an extension of the eviction process that often results in an eviction anyway, except for the skip happens 3, 4, or 5 months later in the process. So I'll be approaching you all over the next couple of weeks before you have your second reading with some additional ideas. I certainly don't think this has any equity in it. And while we all are sensitive to people who have an economic plight, and we recognize that there needs to be some protection and rent protection for tenants who can't pay in short-term situations.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our public speaking portion of the meeting.
But you have to sign up beforehand. I'm sorry. That's the rules. I'm sorry. Okay. No, you wasn't on the list. Oh, no. I'm sorry. No, we don't go back. We don't. I don't. No, it'll be a big problem. Believe me. It'll be a big problem.
You ask people to state their full names, and I didn't catch Ron's last name.
I can't hear you.
What's the full name of the last speaker? You usually ask
Right
them to
there.
state their full name.
Ron Simolini. It's Simonlini. Okay. On to our petitions and communications. Any questions or comments on items 6.1 through 6.31? Hearing none. Any questions or comments on Officer Communications 7.1 through 7.11? Hearing none. Any questions or comments on Report of Directors 8.1? And on to our claims and addendums number 1 and number 2. Council members going to be taking a vote on claims and addendums number 1 and number 2. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Claims and addendums number 1 and number 2 are approved unanimously 9-0. On to our resolutions. Council members are going to be taking a vote on items 10.1 through 10.12. Again, that's items 10.1 through 10.12. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
No on 10.2, aye on all the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Abstain for 10.2.
You're abstaining on 10.2?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. If just allow me to recap, item 10.1 is approved unanimously 9-0. 10.2 is approved 7-1-1 with Council Member Solomon voting no and Council President abstaining. Items 10.3 to 10.12 are approved unanimously 9-0. On to our next set of resolutions, items 10.13 through 10.23. Again, that's 10.13 through 10.23. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Items 10.13 through 10.23 are approved unanimously 9-0. And on to the balance of our resolutions. Council members, I'll be taking a vote on items 10.24 through 10.36, with the exception of 10.31, which has been withdrawn. Again, that's items 10.24 through 10.26, with the exception of 10.31, which has been withdrawn. Councilperson Ridley.
Repeat those numbers again, Sean?
So it's the balance. It's 10.24 through 10.36,
36.
with the exception of 10.31, which has been withdrawn.
On 1036, just for clarification, we're still in the midst of that litigation?
There is a pending appeal right now relating to the process that resulted in this matter being placed before the council. However, this matter is now, it's properly placed before the council by a court order. That should not necessarily influence the vote. That said, there is currently pending litigation on this matter, yes.
Who's appealing? Who's appealing exactly?
The city and
City's appealing?
the city and the Cannabis Control Board.
Okay.
I guess what happens after those proceedings? Like, does it then come back before us for a vote? How does that work?
Well, this, so obviously, like all applications, if, depending on, if an application is approved and granted a letter of conditional support from the council, it would have to still go to the state, and it would still come back to the council in, it would come back to the council prior to final approval.
Give us clarity. We're not understanding this. Give us clarity because
How would it come back to the?
before we was told that we couldn't because it was in litigation. That's what they told us.
Yeah, now.
Okay, now you saying it is or it is not. We don't know because the problem is that we don't want to do something and find out it was illegal for us to do. That's why we're looking to you for you to give us the answer.
Now, this, there is a pending appeal over the processes that took place at the Cannabis Control Board.
Mhm.
Nevertheless, the trial court judge, although we requested a stay of the order, the judge denied the request for the stay and has ordered that this matter be placed on the council agenda here tonight. That is notwithstanding our request. We felt that because of some pending issues that had not been resolved, that it was not proper. Nevertheless, we do have a court order that we need to address.
Okay, so to my understanding, let me, could you just, give us bullet points here? It seemed like, because what you're saying, it seemed like it's confusing us a little more up here. To my understanding is what you're saying is that it went to courts. Courts said, okay, they have to come back to us. We start appealing against them. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when we start appealing against them, the judge said, no, 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 send it back.
Yes, correct.
Okay, that's all we need to know.
Yes.
That's it. That's what I'm saying. But the judge done told them to send it back.
That's correct.
That's what the judge did. So we fighting, I don't want to say losing.
So in the meantime, the city have appealed the judge's decision, correct?
Yeah, the city, so there was a prior appeal regarding interpretation of the Cannabis Control Board process. That appeal is pending before the appellate division of the court. Nevertheless, the applicant has requested that this application go forward pending a review of that interpretation of the law, which is currently based on the trial court's ruling. We are bound by the trial court's directive until we receive relief or not from the appellate court.
So what, if anything, will happen if we vote in favor tonight and then the court decide in favor of our appeal? Where does that leave us as a council then?
I think it would leave us with some questions of how we would reinterpret our Cannabis Control Board resolution. Ordinances rather. I know that we are in the process and we are very close to completing a draft that we think would address some of the issues that were raised by this particular and some other applications when we drafted this ordinance a few years ago. That said, we are bound by the trial court's direction at this time. It would more than likely have effect on subsequent applicants and how the process would go between the Cannabis Control Board hearing process, planning, and then to the council.
And with respect to the hold, the 6-month moratorium, because this wouldn't be able to go through, they went through the original process.
They went through the process.
They went through
the process, the Cannabis Board.
That's correct.
They took Cannabis Board to court.
Okay.
The judge threw it out. We still fighting. That's what I'm just trying to sum it up.
That is a good.
Oh, okay. That's what. Okay.
They go back to the Cannabis Board?
They don't.
And they voted it.
And they voted to approve it. The Cannabis Board.
So
approved them, and they coming back.
Okay. All right.
But we still mad. We still fight. Let's vote.
Okay, so
The only thing I can see. That's what it seems like.
I'll repeat where we're voting from. We're going from items 10.24 through the balance 10.36, with the exception of 10.31, which has been withdrawn. Councilperson Ridley.
Okay, so 1036, I'm gonna honestly still a little confused because I don't understand what happens if we win the appeal or if we move forward with this now and, we have this company spend money and then we win the appeal, or it seems like either way, the city is going to be spending money on something that's not resolved. So I'm going to abstain on 1036 and I'll vote aye on all the rest.
Okay, Councilperson Prinzary.
So knowing the challenges that we are having all together in this cannabis space right now, I'm going to abstain on 1036. I'm not quite sure which way to move on this right now, to be perfectly honest, and with I on all of the rest.
Councilperson Bargiano. And your vote on the rest? Councilperson Saleh.
I have to abstain on 1036. I on all the rest.
Councilperson Solomon.
I'm going to vote aye for all on 1034. Excited to see a longtime Jersey City resident move forward. We'll work together and speaking with the Van Voorst community moving forward. On 1036, the reason I'm voting aye is I think it's always been important for me that we treat every application with the same standards. And obviously it was placed before us by a judge. And in this case, we have a recommendation from the Cannabis Control Board. And we have the same types of things in this application that we've had in every other application, which includes MOUs, community outreach, and things of that nature. And the council has said that we want to revise the 600-foot rule, but we've said we're going to do it after the moratorium starts. So I think we have to treat every applicant in the same manner and in the same way. And ultimately, there's nothing in this application that is substantively different than the other applications that have been before us. So for me, that's the standard. And so I'm going to vote aye. And after the moratorium hits, it is my kind of commitment to try to work with the colleagues on moving the moratorium, lessening the time frame so it's not as long, given some of the concerns we've heard here, but ensuring that, given the number of applications moving forward in downtown, and particularly on Newark Avenue, that we sort of hit our limit. So we have a number of applications near each other. They're all treated the same way, but any subsequent applications, I do have concerns over and think that our revisions to the law should ensure that we're not adding more dispensaries other than the ones we've already approved. But that is my reason for voting aye on 1036 and aye on all the rest.
Councilperson Gilmore.
So Peter, again, just for clarity for me, because I'm perplexed, to be honest with you. So it got remanded to go back. So they went through planning and the CCRB again, or at least one of them again. And now it's up to us to vote on it again.
This has not appeared before the council yet for a vote. This is the first time it's gone to a vote with the council.
Okay, but it did go back to CCRB and planning, and they both obliged to move it forward.
It did go back to the CCB, yes.
Okay, all right, so in light of that, I'll vote yeah, because it went through the CCRB board. But I don't know, I just think in the future, I guess we should get a tutorial on something like this, because I've never voted on anything that was pending litigation, hence the term litigation, it's pending. But seeing that it did go through that process, I'll vote aye. So I'll vote aye on all, Sean.
Thank you. Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera
Aye.
and Council President Waterman.
Well, when it comes to 1036, I cannot vote because of the position that I hold with the Women's Advisory Board. That's why I cannot vote. So I have to abstain from that. But part of the challenges here is that the council is not clear. And I think what should have happened, you should have made it quite clear to us exactly what was going on, because what to our understanding as a council, when something is under litigation, it's really, even if we vote, it seems like it doesn't mean anything, because we always got to go by what the judge says, okay, whatever the outcome is. So that's why we asked in our corporate council exactly what is going on here, because first we was told they was under litigation. Now we're saying, okay, it's a court order for them to vote. So it's not, you confused us.
No, and Council President, frankly, I think the rulings that were issued were confusing. And I think we were trying to square a circle that was difficult to find a resolution to. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, there was a court order that was not, we could not question. There was no disputing that this order existed, with the obligation to place this on the council agenda, regardless of the pending appeal.
Court order said regardless, it has to come on.
Yes.
So then, if that's the case, then at the caucus, why wasn't that properly explained to us? Because we kept asking, is this still under litigation? We kept asking, because for you who don't know, we do have a caucus meeting on Monday, and we go through every item on the agenda, and we do ask questions, okay? We go through it. Now this is the day of the vote. Okay, so when something changes based on our discussion, we stop and try to get a clear understanding. This is what this is about right now.
I apologize if that wasn't clear. However,
Okay. Because I could imagine what the person is going through that's dealing with this for this small business.
And
Okay.
Council President, however, matters of litigation, we generally cannot discuss details in open session. I had made myself available for if there were any questions. I did not hear anything since caucus on Monday. I thought the matter had been resolved. Again, we had voted and approved a closed session for next Monday. I'm happy to discuss some details at that time.
Yeah.
However, we did have this court order that we had to address.
Sean, my concern is that, is the majority rule in this situation here because it's just a resolution?
So it's a simple majority, but when you have all 9 council members present, a majority is 5. Correct.
So the closed session is regarding this, right?
The closed session is regarding other
Change
matters
the
of
vote.
pending litigation involving the city.
But, I mean, so now it's,
Sean, I'm gonna change it to I.
yeah, because it's not, yeah, you can't.
It's not a fair
It's not fair
situation.
to them. I
Okay.
mean,
Okay, Sean, go back, because we're
Okay.
not trying to hurt the small business in no
Right.
way.
Right. So I
Okay.
think,
I would, if I could have voted, I would have, but I cannot because of that situation, all right?
So-
So I have to abstain, am I correct?
That be,
Because I,
my recommendation would be yes. If there,
Okay,
if you
that's
feel
what
there's a conflict, you should abstain.
right. 'Cause I-
And Peter,
with the
this,
woman's
this
advisory.
has to be voted on today. There's no, you
Yes.
can't discuss
Correct.
it at the
Can't.
closed session.
The court order was on or before April 26th.
and there's no special meeting, we
So-
do a special meeting.
All we could do is just vote. You could change your vote if you want to. I explained the reason why I cannot vote. But
Yep.
you'll have an option to change your vote before we close out.
so Council
Next
President,
time, I just hope we get more clarity with this, because I know people are watching us and I'm trying to give them clear understanding as much as possible. That's what I'm trying to do right now.
Council President, before I react for the vote on 1036, I just wanted to be clear and confirm that you're abstaining on both 34 and 36?
No, just 36.
Just
because,
36,
it's the woman
okay.
Advisory board that,
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. So council members, I'm gonna just ask for your vote if you're keeping the vote the way it is or you're changing it on 10.36, because that's all we're discussing at this point, correct, Council President?
yes, that's what.
Okay, so Councilperson Ridley, you abstained on 1036. Are you looking to change your vote?
Based on the discussion, I'll change it to, I just hope, going forward, we'll get a little more clarity before we, put these, items back on the agenda, because I don't think, well, I'm not gonna speak for the whole council, but it's clear that they kind of feel the same way I do, that it wasn't really, fully explained before we brought this back up here, so.
Okay. Councilperson Prinzary. Which,
I will continue to abstain for the same reasons though, because this is putting the council in a very difficult situation. I understand why people want to change their vote. I think that that's also fair, but this is just, it's an impossible situation, so I'm going to stay with abstain.
okay, Councilperson Bajani is still staying with your no vote? Thank you. Councilperson Saleh.
I'm gonna vote aye. I don't like the fact that there's still ongoing litigation, but I think hopefully it resolves itself and, sooner rather than later.
And Councilperson Solomon, you're staying with your yes vote?
Correct.
Councilperson Gilmore is staying with your yes vote?
Voting yes twice, Sean.
Councilperson DeGise, you're staying with your yes vote?
Correct.
And Councilperson Rivera, you're staying with your yes vote? That's correct. Okay. So now let me do the recapping of all these changes. All right, so items 10.24 through 10.30 are approved unanimously 9-0. 10.31 has been withdrawn. 10.32 and 10.33 are approved unanimously 9-0. 10.34 is approved 8-1, with Councilperson Bajano voting no. Item 10.35 is approved unanimously 9-0. Item 10.36 is approved 6-1-2, with Councilperson Bajano voting no and Council members Prince Airy and Council President Waterman abstaining. That concludes our resolutions. May I have a motion to
Motion.
adjourn at 8:35 PM So we have a motion by Councilperson Rivera, seconded by Councilperson Prinzary on the motion to adjourn at 8:35 PM. Councilperson Ridley. Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano. Oh, okay, couldn't hear him. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon. Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson DeJeece. Councilperson Rivera. And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 9-0 to adjourn at 8:35 PM. Thank you so much, everyone in attendance and everyone watching at home. Remember, teamwork makes the dream work. Please stay safe. And remember, Robert, just want to let you know I love you, brother. All right, take care. Have a great night.